Hi, everybody. This is Michael from Carelifornia again. We're going to do the third installment of kind of our sidetrack topic, which has been the SBA loans, the EIDL, and the PPP loan, especially because I finally was able to put together a PPP application and get it submitted through my bank, Chase, and be able to submit those documents to get everything done. So I'm really excited that we finally got it done. It's been kind of stressful over the last couple of days, trying to figure out what we needed to be able to provide and if we were going to be able to submit everything through Chase. But luckily today we were able to do so, and so I'm going to get a chance to go through the application with you all today and show you what that process looks like. So it's not really a complicated process, especially if you have all the documents you need, and I'll talk about which documents they ask for, as well as reference the page, the form that had been put out earlier, maybe about a week ago, for the Paycheck Protection Program, that listed kind of a pretty good synopsis of what would be needed, and that was put out by the SBA. Now, the form, we actually didn't need it for the application, but it was a good guideline for what we would need and the kind of questions that would be asked and the kind of attestations that we would need to be able to submit. So, I think last week a lot of folks, when the PPP loans first came out or were launched, there was a huge push. I think that they said in the first day they already had a couple $1 billion of money already paid out, primarily through small banks, and so those are usually the banks that maybe a lot of folks hadn't heard of. I looked at the SBA website and looked at some of the banks that were offering it in my area, and they were none of the banks that I had ever really heard about. And it looks like a lot of the larger banks, with the exception of B of A, Bank of America, really needed a little extra time to get their processes down to be able to submit the loans, rather than those smaller banks who oftentimes already had a relationship with the SBA in a way that they were already processing that information. And being smaller, they're able to be a little bit quicker and more agile in adjusting to what was needed to get the loan submitted. So, I had reached out to my Chase banker and talked to them, and they said, hold on, everything will get going. Just give us a second to get caught up and get our processes down. And that first day, I didn't hear anything back. The second day, I went to my Chase Bank website and was able to put in some information about PPP, but mainly just like a questionnaire, just saying, what's your name, and are you a member with Chase, and some basic information. But there's basically just our information to submit out to them, and they'll say, hey, thanks for the information. We'll reach out to you as soon as we can. And that was last week. And so over the last couple of days on Twitter and seeing people who are like, oh, I was able to submit my application, or I submitted through here, I submitted it there. We looked at other banks as well, even some banks in other states that were still processing. But a lot of the other bigger banks, or Bank of America, for example, they were only taking applications for people who had previously either had a business account with them or had a business loan through them, and that was not us. So we're kind of stuck in a situation where we had to wait for Chase to get going, and luckily today they were able to get their process up and running. And for the last 4 days and over the weekend, I've just been basically sitting at home, refreshing my website, refreshing to try to see whenever the newest update for the PPP would be launched, so that we would have an opportunity to get in there, because it is first come, first serve. So luckily today it got done, and so that's what I'm going to go through with you today. And first, what we can see is that it's run through the Chase Bank account, right? So again, like the B of A or some of the other ones, you really do need to be a member with Chase, and I think it says before February 15th of 2020. So you can't just like open up an account and then be like, surprise, I want to do this and get the PPP. They are looking to, I guess, additionally service those existing clients they have before they move on to the next one. So I was able to log into my account, and again, there was something that was just kind of continually saying, hey, you go here for PPP. Once you get in, please wait. We're building out the website. We're building out the website. It's crashed, and then we're building out the website. But again, today it worked. So I went to my Chase Bank, and you can see here that when you log into when you go to the main Chase website, you can go in and where is it at? You can go in and you can go to the business section, and that's under the Chase for business accounts. So you can go there, and there's a big kind of in the center, can't miss it, like SBA Paycheck Protection Loan Program icon, which obviously all the people I've talked to are saying they're being overrun with inquiries and people trying to get this done. And I'll be the first to say that I was one of those people, really kind of in an urgent situation to try to get the all that information submitted and talking to your accountant and get all that information as well. So you can see this is the website it goes to. It talks specifically about COVID-19 and what they're doing. And there's always this learn more button, which previously up until today didn't really work. But earlier today, I was able to click on it, and it gave you a little list of criteria for people who wanted to apply through Chase. What you would need first, what would be those initial criteria? So as I had said before, it says you have to be an existing Chase Bank member, business bank member, prior to February 15th. Also, you obviously have to be able to borrow money on behalf of your company. And you also could not have already applied through another financial institute or through Chase for the PPP program. And so, and then also they were asking if you have any outstanding loans left over from the EIDL. So that was the video that I had done before. If you have not applied for EIDL and you still would like to, I have a little link here that I put up that you can click on to go back to the video. That application is very quick as well. It's even easier than this one, but the amounts are a lot smaller. So it also has a little information about forgiveness, what that looks like. They mentioned that it is not automatic. It's something that you're going to have to check in with your banker, 8 weeks in down the road, and kind of show them what you use the money for, and that way they can verify how much of it should be forgiven on your behalf, assuming you use it for the correct amount. And then anything that's not forgiven, you got to pay. You got to pay it back. So. So this was a pretty standard screen that I had seen, and just today, this same one, it opened up and it took me to it asked me to log back into my business account, which I did. And once I did that, then it took me back again to these kind of initial protection, the initial kind of criteria for applying, and I hit continue. And up to this point, it always said, it's not working. But when I hit continue, to my surprise, it gave me a kind of a roadmap to what it would take to apply for the Paycheck program loan. So this is what that initial page looks like. It's again just kind of the initial part where it tells you this is what you're going to need, this is where you're at. There's kind of just a 3 or 4 part section to the application process, and so it has some more. A repeat of the criteria that you need to be able to apply. It mentions in this one that you can't be a government entity, which I'm not, so I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, so let's click here. And so previously, when I was looking up over the last couple of days and looking online and trying to figure out what exactly documents do I need to be able to submit through this whole process, it wasn't exactly clear. I mean, you're hearing a lot of different things. Some banks have different processes to getting enrolled, required different documents, and required a lot of different information that I just ended up starting gathering information that ultimately we didn't a lot of it use, but it was nice to have. I guess it's good to kind of do that audit on your own through your business if you don't normally do that. But it's not a whole lot of information that you need, but it is very specific information that is required to be able to get the loan. So once you get through that initial page, with the criteria and all that kind of stuff, then it'll take you to the roadmap. And then once you get to the roadmap, then you will get to this initial business information. And one thing I thought was interesting, which I guess is not that interesting, but I thought it was, is that under the business loan, if you click on it, your information from your Chase account is already pre-populated. So it already has Carelifornia there. It says, if you're applying for that loan or the DBA or whatever company you're using, the name you're using for Chase Bank, it's there. And it asks if your business is owned by another business. So is it owned by another business? And are you the owner of the business? So yes, I clicked yes. On no, it's not owned by another business. And yes, I am the owner. It also asks you what type of business it is. So whether it's a sole proprietorship or a C corp or an S corp or independent contractor or a 501(c). All those are available, and other. So I guess you could have a different style and put it there. Whatever it happens to be, and then you have to attest it. Say, yes, this information is correct and true. And so really on the next page, it doesn't look like it's letting me go. Sorry. So I just did the application, so I was going to run back through it and see if we can do it just blank like I did with the others, but it's not, I guess, not allowing me to do that. So I'll just kind of give you a rundown of what information they asked for on the next page and a half. So the next page, what they really wanted to find out was what was kind of our numbers, right? What is the average monthly payroll for all of our employees? How many employees do we have? And what were our average expenses? So they wanted to know what the payroll was, they wanted to know how many employees we had, and they wanted to know what we were intended to spend the money on. So they asked, what is rent? What is health insurance cost? What is payroll cost? What is mortgage interest costs, loan repayments, and a variety of different expenses that we were planning to use. And it said that the amounts that we put in there had to at least amount to 100% of whatever the loan amount was, which is 2.5 times the average yearly payroll, which was average monthly payroll. Sorry, and that was for 2019. So they were asking for all that information from 2019, and they wanted to make sure that the information, the money that we were going to spend it on, reached to 100% of whatever the loan would be. And so that was the next section, just kind of numbers, right? How much payroll do you have to pay? How much is your rent? How much is your overhead kind of stuff? How much is health insurance and mortgage and loans and all those kinds of things? The next part they want to know is owner information. So they want to know how much percentage of the company did I own? If there are partners, what percentage and how many partners and what are their information? So name, social security numbers, addresses, and they oddly asked for citizenship status. I'm not certain how that applies, but they did ask for it. And they had a variety of different options available. I picked citizen because I'm a citizen, and all my, everyone that I did was a citizen. So that was not an issue. They do ask for social security numbers, and they ask for addresses. And so at the bottom of that, just again, they ask you to attest that the information is correct and true. If you have partners, they have a second section that you can click. You can add more people to it after you go through the initial partner process of information. So then after that, and pretty much the final step, was they were asking for documentation. And so they were asking for documentation that matched up a lot with, again, that SBA PPP sample form that the SBA had put out last week. And they asked for one section, the first section, they asked for payroll. And so for that, I submitted my third-party payroll processing document. So like ADP had it, and I talked to our payroll folks, and they were able to give us a payroll processing document, something that just kind of gave a summary of payroll for the year of 2019, and that's what we submitted for that. And then the second section is for supporting documents, and you can add up to 4 different documents in that section. And I used the 941. I used our company tax return, which is already done for 2019. And a W-3 that has tax stuff for all of our payroll. So those are the 3 documents that I submitted. You can put 4, but I just used those 3 because that's really all that was necessary for us to be able to submit the application. So once you get all your kind of costs down, your numbers, how much you're asking for down, and then you have information for owners and addresses and social security numbers, and then you have the documents to support what you're asking for. Then you have a list of attestations that you have to go through. It's asking if you are presently suspended or disbarred or proposed for disbarment, and the questions are exactly the same that were on the SBA sample form. It's asking if you have gotten any other loans from the SBA in the last 7 years. It's asking if you have if you have other businesses, so if you're a part of other businesses, and if you've already had some sort of the EIDL loan as well. In addition to that, it asks, making sure that whoever is signing on there, or whoever's included on this application, is more than a 20% owner of the business, and asks if anyone had had a felony in the last 5 years, whether you've been convicted, pleaded guilty, plead nolo contendere, or been placed on pretrial diversion. So it asks for those. Luckily, all those answers are no in our case. It asks for where is the primary residence of the business, which is in the United States. It asks if it's a franchise, if the business is a franchise, and the answer was no. So once you get all those attestations done, you sign. There's two little buttons specifically for questions, the questions about ownership as well as felony. So you have like an extra button you have to sign there. Then you can finalize the whole process and submit the application. And once you submit the application, then you won't get a confirmation number or anything like that. You'll just essentially get a page that says, "Thank you for applying. Your request has been received," and they'll reach out to you as soon as you get any more information. So that was a little bit of a bummer because it doesn't have a number, it doesn't have anything. It just says, "Hey, Michael, thanks for applying, and we'll get back to you." And so I was a little perturbed about that. I wasn't sure if it actually got submitted, or how would I know if it got submitted. But luckily, only like a couple minutes later, it did ask for. It did send me an email showing giving me a reference number for the loan and confirming that the loan was submitted. As I had mentioned, there are some disclosures and things like that that were initially on the application, and so I'll post these up here too on a separate file because I did take a screenshot of those, so I'll post those up here. But ultimately, the application process is pretty quick. It's pretty easy if you got the information that you need. So if you have your payroll information, if you have your general expense information, so rent and payroll costs and health insurance costs and utilities, then if you have those and the documents support it, it's a pretty much a breeze. And so it is really, really relieving to be able to get the application in. I don't really know what the next steps are. Assumingly, they're going to reach out to us if they have any other questions or if they need some more clarification on any of the documents we submitted. But like I said, it's been a pretty easy process, and it was a little stressful because we weren't getting the documents and Chase wasn't really going quickly. And here on the West Coast, it seems like we kind of got put farther down the line than some of the East Coast states. But getting it done and getting it through, big relief. I hope this helps. If you all do have questions, feel free to put them in the box below. Also, if you do have questions about your health insurance, if you're like losing your job or you have questions about health insurance, that's the main point of the videos that I normally make, and I'm happy to go over any of that information with you as well. So other than that, I hope this helps. I hope that if you are able to get all the information together, you're able to get the application in and get help paying for your business, especially in times when a lot of us could use it. So other than that, I hope you all doing well. I look forward to making some more videos in the future. Thanks, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get updates when our newest videos come available. Thanks.